True dominance in sport is rarely seen. That's why words like dynasty and legend are seldom used. The sport of show jumping is no exception. To become a legend, a horse must possess many qualities and be matched with the perfect rider. Get this combination right, and you have the makings of something special.
An amazing story with an amazing horse, the most coveted Grand Prix trophy in show jumping.
When Eric Lamaze and Hickstead first met, there was nothing to suggest that greatness lay ahead. The horse was undersized, lacking scope, and challenging to ride.
The riding ability wasn't very good. And I was just about ready to just jump off and say, you know what, it's not what I'm looking for.
Fortune, however, often favors the brave. Eric sensed the stallion had something to offer and decided to take a chance. Hickstead joined the Lamaze stable to start what would become an incredible story.
Throughout Hickstead's career, I was always happy for the horse. This horse just wouldn't accept anything less than clear rounds.
Over the years, Hickstead and Lamaze would win countless competitions around the globe, thrilling their devoted fans. Their reputation as champions had them hailed as the best ever. Then, from out of nowhere, tragedy struck.
Abandoned today following the sudden death of the stallion Hickstead.
The news of his sudden passing stunned the nation and rocked an entire sport.
A friend of mine called me and she was crying and said, Hickstead's dead. And I was in stunned silence. I couldn't believe it.
What these horses do for us is incredible. They become part of our family. They really change our life.
Taken far too early, the diminutive stallion with the heroic heart will long be remembered. His name conjures up images of packed stadiums, screaming fans, and a fiery little horse impossibly soaring over massive obstacles to yet another victory.
For me, it was the best horse in the world. Some people are arguing that perhaps it's the best horse that's ever lived. That's for everyone to sort of decide for themselves.
Spruce Meadows presents The Legacy of Hickstead.
Welcome to the 1976 Spruce Meadows Masters, and this afternoon we'll be featuring highlights of the...
He got in bad trouble there, lost his stirrups.
Whoa.
Well, problems with the triple combination.
And this horse just kicks his hind legs way out.
There's the first three-time winner of the Du Maurier Limited International, John Whitaker of Great Britain.
Ian Miller and Big Ben, our 1991 Du Maurier Limited.
I'm Ian Allison, joined as always by Linda Hefcott. The Nick Skelton of Great Britain, champion of the Du Maurier. The richest payday in show jumping, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready?
I hope so, Ian. This is going to be really exciting.
September 2012. 10 months after the untimely and sudden passing of the legendary horse Hickstead, Eric Lamaze joined tens of thousands of adoring fans at the Spruce Meadows Masters in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. To honor the great stallion, a heroic bronze cast in his likeness was unveiled.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the bronze artist Mary Sand, we give you Hickstead.
Eric Lamaze was born into meager and challenging circumstances in Montreal, Quebec in 1968. In his early teens, he discovered a talent and passion for horses and knew he wanted a career in the horse sports.
One day just basically went riding and with friends and really fell in love for the sport. I didn't have the funding or the resource to do what maybe other kids were doing at that time. So I took a little bit of a working avenue to get into the sport.
With hard work and commitment, he started on the bottom rung of the sports ladder, far removed from the spotlight of major tournaments and the high-stakes, high-drama world of international show jumping. By the early 1990s, Lamaze had started to gain the attention of the Canadian equestrian team. By 1994, at the age of 26, he had jumped his way to many major wins and onto Team Canada for the World Equestrian Games in the Netherlands. His successes and confidence, for the most part, came in partnership with the Irish-bred gelding, Cagney. Lamaze represented the new generation in the sport, challenging well-established veterans. Two years later, Eric Lamaze's world collapsed. Failed drug tests led to his removal from the Canadian team for both the 1996 and 2000 Olympic Games. He had finally arrived in the national sport and media spotlight, but for all the wrong reasons. Lamaze struggled to stay in the sport and find a worthwhile replacement for Cagney. Many horses came through the Torrey Pines program with high hopes and impressive pedigrees, but none had the right stuff. It was an important watershed era in Eric Lamaze's life that could have gone either way. A small but fiercely loyal group stuck with the determined athlete through it all. One of that group was John Fleischacker. He believed in and supported Eric Lamaze. Together, they began the search for a horse that could carry Lamaze back to the top of the sport.
Fleischacker and I were looking for a horse for me. So basically, John sent me to Europe to try to find something for myself that we could either buy and resell, or either was going to be an add-up as a horse for me for the future.
Eric found the horse, of course, in Europe. It had been tried by a number of professional riders and passed over because of its size and whatever else, and for some reason Eric saw something in the horse.
And this horse had been tried by Nick Skelton, been tried by Michael Whitaker as a 4-year-old, Matt Cohn had tried the horse, so a few people had tried the horse, so I was already fairly sort of turned off.
Funny enough, I tried that horse when he was 7 years old, and he was really a hot horse, which he is. He's still hot, but I could jump a big vertical line, but I couldn't jump a wide ox on him. I thought, maybe, you know, he's a very, very good horse, careful, but whether he's has enough scope for the big time, I don't know.
I went to see him actually as a 4-year-old. He was very wild, you know, it was a big jump then, but he was wild. And I was supposed to go try him again and I didn't, and I've regretted it ever since.
He could jump a vertical as beautiful as any horse, but the oxer just didn't feel right. He would get to the back rail and kind of square up and come down fairly quickly, and it gave me an uncomfortable feeling. So, unfortunately, one of the worst mistakes of my life, I walked away from Hickstead.
And I got on him, and the first few fences were very normal, and he was certainly not over jumping and really being on the end of the martingale, and the riding ability wasn't very good. And I was just about ready to just jump off and say, you know what, it's not what I'm looking for. I often like to stay with my first impression, and I don't want to talk myself into it. John is a new client. I really want to do the right thing and find him a superstar and, you know, a horse that can do big classes.
While he always tried to go with his first impression, something about Hickstead inspired Eric to give the stallion another shot.
And the horse came out once again, just as wild as the first time. We jumped him and jumped him. I was trying to talk myself out of it. I wanted the horse to do something wrong for me to say, look, see, it's really not for me. Anyway, the horse jumped very well. I got along great with him, gave me a good feeling. I still wasn't sure. So I said, listen, I'm gonna mention it to John, and John was a man of a few words when it came down to buying horses. I said, if you're willing to do something with me on this horse, you know, I'll work hard, but I said, I don't want you to think this is a sure thing. I said, this is a risk.
Risk. Risk in sport is inevitable. In the horse sports, there are countless intangibles that make a sure thing impossible to guarantee.
We've purchased a lot of horses with Eric, and having it not go so well, one can appreciate how much you have to spend in time and money in order to get what we got.
With the purchase agreed to, Hickstead comes to Canada, and the pair go about making a first impression.
First show that we went to was Palgrave. I made it about 20 feet from the stable. That's all I could go. This horse was not going near any ring. Got my groom to lead him down to the ring, got on him at the ring, did a couple turns at the trot, out of control. He sees the door and takes me all the way back to the barn. I get the in-gate thing sorted out. I work with the horse. I get him tired and everything else. I put him in a class, get to the water jump, he stops. I said, oh no, I can't believe it. I said, no, I'm giving up. So Jan Candel, which worked for me as a rider, said, Jan, you gotta take this horse. I'm sure he's not worth it, but he won't jump the water.
And we had a very good friend who had a barn with 2-3 little water jump. And he was going to the fence and start to go sideways and go beside it. So make it a little bit more difficult to reinforce them, to get confidence to go over all of that. So it took a little bit more time. And over time he went through it.
But meanwhile, when you train a horse to get over this problem, they don't get quieter, they get quite tense, you know? So this horse is getting more unrideable by the second as we making him jump these fences.
We were really concerned about whether we made the right purchase. But my wife, Dondi, kept telling Eric over and over again, no, you can't get rid of it. He's your career horse, you're keeping it. And she gets the credit, I don't.
In the autumn of 2004, with their chemistry still in question, Eric and Hickstead come to Spruce Meadows for the first time.
Since I was here, I don't give up easy either. So I said I'm gonna enter the horse in the meter 30. And he was flawless. He never put a foot wrong. He jumped unbelievable. And the journey began to train him.
A spark is fueled to see what truly lies within the young stallion, to understand what makes him tick and what might be.
In those days, Jürgen von Butler was working for me, and his background is dressage, and tried to make some sense out of riding Hickstead and getting him broke, as we say, and rideable and everything else, which he did an incredible job.
The beginning was tough, I have to say. His idea of what he was supposed to do and was a little bit different from ours to start. He was quite opinionated at the beginning.
He didn't end up being unruly, but he was always a very active horse, very aggressive at the jumps, full of fire.
While riding, his character really came out. You just questioned, you know, was he going to have enough stride to be a serious Grand Prix horse?
The power was an issue. We knew how careful he was, but I never believed the power, as some of the other riders that didn't buy him didn't believe he had.
It just took patience and just doing the same thing over and over and over. And in the end, he actually ended up being quite nice to ride.
There is a critical time in a young horse's career when he is expected to step up, to prove his worth. For Hickstead, that time was 2005, when he was 9 years old. Hickstead's first Spruce Meadows victory came in June at the Spruce Meadows National.
I remember like it was yesterday. This meter 45 class is very difficult. I came down the line, I think it was 5 stride, jumped the oxer and steadied for 5. Hickstead ran right through my hand, and this horse landed, and I mean, knew the way out of there and used so much power to make that oxer. He seized the pole, and he knew he was going to be long and he was in trouble, and he made the move by himself. And I got out of the ring and I said, I think I have a real horse.
By July, Eric thought the horse was ready to jump in his first meter 60 event, the highest of the FEI jumping divisions. The Queen Elizabeth II Cup at the Spruce Meadows North American was one of its biggest tests. It proved to be too much, too soon.
He started to show some promise, and I remember Eric was really on my case every week. He wanted to jump in a WEF and a Grand Prix, and I said, he's not ready, just wait. Physically he's ready, mentally he's not ready yet.
This was a competition that I had picked that I wasn't sure if he was ready for or not, and I think he stopped at one of the water double Liverpool, if I remember well, or he jumped it funny anyway, and then he stopped at the British fence.
It was clear there was still plenty to sort out, so the pair went to work. By September, they had jumped their way to the top level of the sport and were competing for Team Canada on its biggest stage at the Spruce Meadows Masters in the BMO Nations Cup.
In the fall, he had a little bit more mileage, and Torchy asked me to come on and be part of the team. And I was the first rider to go for Canada and jumped in the rain and everything else. He had 2 down.
In brutal conditions, they put on a worthy performance. However, control was lacking when it was needed most.
I've never sat on a horse that was quite as strong, but also so sensitive in his mouth. And that's why early on in his career, he kind of went in a big hackamore bit combination.
And we were really in search of different bridles for him all the time, because he always played with his tongue and everything, so we always were trying to keep his mouth shut, but he never accepted it. Basically, if you tighten something a hole too much, he'd flip over and that'd be it, you know? So you had to be very careful how you adjusted all the tack.
Adjustments are part of sport. And the next day, Hickstead would be jumping in the biggest Grand Prix in international show jumping, the $1 million CN International. Having qualified to start against the very best in the sport, the 9-year-old would be battling the likes of Arco, Judgment, Sapphire, and Cento in this 2-round event.
That particular day, he was jumping fantastic in the warm-up ring, really loose. The ground was soggy, which he actually liked, and he jumped wonderful. He jumped a very good first round, which he was not easy to ride, but he jumped it well.
Course designer Leopoldo Palacios set a track to test the best in the sport, and they answered the call, with 13 jumping clear, including Hickstead, who continued to show that he belonged in the big leagues. Of the 48 starters qualified, only the top 12 or all clear rounds would advance to round number 2.
I remember walking the first round with Eric, and then the triple was already set up for the second round, and we were like, they must be kidding. It was huge.
Round 2 of the CN International is generally considered the most demanding test for horse and rider in the sport. For Eric Lamaze and Hickstead, it was a chance to prove they belonged.
He had given so much in the first round, and he was trying so hard in the second round that I think with the crowd and the energy in the air, he just got a little bit tense.
I did all I could to make him jump that line across the middle, which I think was a plank to an oxer. Then I remember he made a rollback, but he didn't want to go. He almost again wanted to leave the ring and run out. But at the end, I sort of persuaded him to jump the fence.
With 2 jumps to go, a double clear performance was in sight.
A little anxious on my part and a little too much energy from him. And the last fence came down.
That was by far the biggest class that he had been in. And it was impressive to see what he can do.
We knew we probably had a good horse. We now had a sense that perhaps we had a great one.
Hickstead became very much a going concern in the eyes of other international riders, recognizing that all of the pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, and each time out they got stronger.
Hickstead had arrived. You're watching Spruce Meadows Presents The Legacy of Hickstead, in association with CN, North America's Railroad, Rolex, the official timepiece of Spruce Meadows, and TravelAlberta.com. Hickstead quickly became the foundation for Canada's hopes internationally, and would be fundamental to their chances at the 2006 World Equestrian Games in Aachen, Germany. In advance of the Games, Eric went to Aachen to see how the stallion would handle the intense spotlight of European show jumping.
I was still kind of an upcoming international rider in that scene. You know, I had started to accomplish certain things that were important, but Aachen was a little intimidating to me. And we're warming up for the Grand Prix, and he decided that off the right lead, he would stop in the turn and he wouldn't jump. So it came down that I had to go in the ring. I give this no hope whatsoever. It was really a big Grand Prix. I said, this is not, you know, something's wrong. So what does Hickstead do? Goes clear.
Clear rounds on Grand Prix Day in Aachen are rare, but Eric and Hickstead delivered just that.
This was, you know, luckiest day of my life. I've never had a warm-up where I couldn't jump a horse over more than 4 fences and had to go in the ring. And for no reason, just that day, that was the way it was. Well, this just keeps getting worse. I just turn the corner and he won't go and he won't jump. A little bit off the left lead and nothing off the right. Go back in the ring. What does he do? Do another clear round.
Eric and Hickstead respond with precision. Double clear in the Aachen Grand Prix. They're into the jump-off, a 3rd round featuring show jumping's biggest players.
So by now I'm really confused into what's happening. You know, this horse will not jump in the warm-up ring, but just keeps attacking these fences in the ring and just flying away, you know? So the jump-off comes around, and this is about to be the biggest result of my career. So I'm trying to warm up, you know, there was a couple of right turn and a jump-off and everything else, and just impossible. Goes in the ring. What does he do? Another clear.
The newcomers from Canada were very much appreciated by the huge and knowledgeable crowd. They had just won a bronze medal in one of the toughest venues in the sport.
Just to be triple clear here, it just really tells you that you have a world-class horse and that you really feel good about the upcoming event and like the World Championship and things like that, because you feel like you got a horse that you can do all that with. I'm really proud to ride a horse like him. It's great fun.
After only 3 short years, Eric Lamaze and Hickstead were gelling as a team.
That's what we learned from his stopping in Aachen, is that he just did not want to jump big in the warm-up. He was a bit frightened of the warm-up, and it didn't make any difference how big the first fence was in the ring. It could be 1.60 m oxer, and he could come off 1.20 m vertical, and he would jump it in the ring like it's nothing, but he could never do it in the warm-up.
Eric and Hickstead returned to Spruce Meadows for the national tournament. They still hadn't won a major event in the international ring, but were about to give it another shot in the CN Reliability Grand Prix. Once again, they had to settle for second place.
My horse jumped fantastic today, and he had a great week, so I'll take the second place very proudly. He does another week here next week, and then he gets a bit of a rest, continues a bit of some showing in Europe, and hopefully he's in great form for the World Equestrian Game.
The World Equestrian Games in Aachen started with promise, finishing second to BZ Madden on opening day.
He did the first round of the World Championship. I took the lead in the speed. He jumped a very strange last fence. The fence was behind, and he tried to run out. I held the left rein, and he left the ground funny. Didn't think anything of it. He finished second.
That was complemented with a clear round in the second leg of the championship to stay in medal contention.
When it came the second leg of the second round of the competition, that morning my groom called me, Jerome called me and said the horse doesn't look very good behind. It's walking very short. I called the vet, says it's not terrible. Says the best thing to do is to get on him, work him. It just could be soreness, you know, he might just work himself out of it and whatnot. I think I was more worried about it than the horse was at the end, you know. I think it was in the back of my head that he wasn't feeling great.
In the third leg of the championship, disaster. 12 faults. And the games were over.
I didn't ride well, and he basically just, you know, pulled a little something in his back and just was off. But it wasn't an injury that took a very long time out of his schedule.
2006 ended with disappointment. Hickstead had shown signs of greatness, but were these just misleading glimpses? His resume was already more impressive than the vast majority of international show jumpers. At 10 years of age, he should have been hitting his prime. But was he? In Wellington, Florida, at the Winter Equestrian Festival, Eric and Hickstead launched the 2007 season with a winning effort as part of Team Canada in the CN Nations Cup of the United States. A good start to the season. Upon arriving at Spruce Meadows for the 2007 Summer Series, they started strongly with a win early on in the National. But then, a setback of sorts. A disappointing 14th place in the CN Reliability Grand Prix. If nothing else, Eric Lamaze and Hickstead defined resilience, and they proved it. Following their disappointing result in the opening Grand Prix, the juggernaut took off, and they recorded only a single rail through the rest of the Spruce Meadows season. The North American tournament marked the coronation of show jumping royalty. Their first major win at Spruce Meadows in the Atco Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
When we came underneath the clock tower for a major competition, he cantered in the ring, and there was a job to do, and it was getting done. Unless of something unusual happening, this horse was 100%.
They go clear. Norman Dello Gioio is last to go. And with that rail, Eric and Hickstead finally win a Grand Prix title in the international ring.
And as we did it the first time in 1990, hoist the crystal chalice, ladies and gentlemen,
Eric Lamaze rides the Maple Leaf to victory at Spruce Meadows.
Any major competition that you win is such a great sense of accomplishment when you've had a horse a long time. When you work with a horse that had a little bit of problem and then you get to the point where you start winning, this horse starts being recognized as one of the best, and then you go win the Queen's Cup and things are coming together. I was happy for myself, but throughout Hickstead's career, I was always happy for the horse. This horse just wouldn't accept anything less than clear rounds.
Clear rounds were now commonplace, expected, and later that summer, they would be mandatory. At the Pan Am Games in Rio de Janeiro, the challenge was simple. Canada had to medal to qualify for the Olympic Games. Much of the pressure rested on the back of Hickstead and on the shoulders of Lamaze. For Eric, it was a bittersweet double medal performance.
That's actually the place where he jumped the worst. I was sort of looking forward to go to the Pan American game. He had jumped some very big classes and fences, and I said, this is going to be smaller. He just didn't quite feel it there. There was not a lot of ambiance. It was not a huge crowd. The fences weren't that big. He just never rose to the occasion. That's one particular week where if I ever had to say, Hickstead, come on, let's do a little something here, I had to do it for him that week. That's probably the only week where I would say he wasn't at his best. We medal, and you know, it's another medal to take home for Canada. The confidence kept building up, but like I said, I was a little disappointed about the performance that I had there because already in this early stage, I probably had the favorite horse to win it.
Being the favorite had become the norm for Eric and his 11-year-old partner. Eric now expected the very best from himself and Hickstead every time out. From the Pan American Games, it was off to the Spruce Meadows Masters, where they further established their prowess. This time against a global entry of the sport's best. A double clear in the BMO Nations Cup is a rare result. For Hickstead, it went a long way to solidify his reputation and confirm his status as a real player.
With every round, he just seemed to have gotten better. By then, people are just expecting clear rounds. I mean, it's just 4 faults is like this awful thing that's happened to Hickstead.
I knew exactly what was happening because once Big Ben was online, he would know what I was thinking probably at the same time or even before I was thinking it, and vice versa. You'd walk a course and everybody be complaining or commenting on this jump or that jump, and you just look at it and say, gee, I don't understand what they're talking about. This looks just fine to me, and that's because of what you're riding.
My confidence in him was such that I'd walk the course in those days and, you know, and I'd say to Torchy, boy, it's awfully easy today. And he'd say, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't know. I don't see the problem.
It was almost like you could guarantee you double zeros, or on a bad day a 0 and a 4 or something.
That's huge for Team Canada, knowing that you have a couple who are that strong, that dominant, to just help the whole team and the whole situation.
You know, if Nations Cups were 3 round, it would be no problem for him. He'd love it. He just kept getting better and better.
No one in the sport was playing at the same level as Eric Lamaze and Hickstead. After 4 years of work, the stars had aligned, and Hickstead was about to face the biggest challenge of his career.
For me, I grew up coming to Calgary a lot, riding difficult horses in my younger years, but always coming for the Master to watch the CN. We all have a competition as a rider that we want to win. And for me, I wanted to win it.
A full stadium was on hand to watch Lamaze and Hickstead take on the Leopoldo Palacios course.
The CN International Cup you can't put more pressure as a rider on yourself. It's the prize money's very big. The owners are in the stands. You want to do well. The crowds are here to watch Canadian jump clear round. Time alloved's tight. You got the bicycle, you got this, you got that. I mean, yeah, these are all fences that sometime you need to be a little lucky jumping out.
The goal, qualify in the top 12 and advance to round 2 of the CN International. Expectations were high. They'd not had a rail in months.
The bicycle was a difficult one to jump from that long gallop. You rarely see 12 clear in the first round in the CN and no 4 falters coming back. But you have to be sitting on a very good horse and have a great day.
Hickstead was never a huge fan of the Canada plane. It's not a straight jump, it curves in a bit, and he never quite knew where to put his leg. And I cannot tell you how many times I rubbed that fence and it stayed up for me. That's the one fence I always hated jumping with him.
The pair did not disappoint. Eric and Hickstead advance.
If you go into the first round and you have a clear round, you better buckle up because what's coming is probably the hardest test that you'll jump in your life.
11 others joined Eric and Hickstead in round 2, including reigning world champions Jos Lansink and Kumano.
Jos Lansink was before me, had some trouble, had some rail with Kumano.
Lamaze knew the door was open and victory was within reach. All they had to do was what they now did best.
He never touches a fence in a warm-up, but that particular day, I remember I set up a very, very small oxer and he came to the base of it and he just touched it on the way up. The pole didn't fall, and I said to people helping me, I said, just give me a vertical. I said, I'm good to go. And they looked at me, are you kidding? And I said, no, let's go. It's good. That was this huge double Liverpool to jump, triple bar, double Liverpool, and then an oxer, long gallop to the British fence, and then the quaint from Athens. It was for me to lose. I mean, he wasn't touching a pole.
As Hickstead jumped, the crowd jumped with him.
As the crowd would cheer, he would get better, and he would work harder at doing his job. Hickstead was a show-off in that regard. He liked showing people how good he was. And once he figured that out, it was just home free after that for Eric.
It was the round of a lifetime, a double clear performance in the world's toughest Grand Prix.
When you go at the end and there's no double clear, there's one left to go, it's a victory in that class, even if you're going to be second. The prize money is great. The recognition as a rider that you're going to get your entire life for being second in that competition is fantastic. The crowd is cheering. You felt like you just won.
Eric and Hickstead had done all they could. All that stood between them and their first CN title was Nick Skelton and his superstar stallion, Arco.
When you've got a double clear already sitting there on top, you've no choice. You've got to bag that clear round. So there's no question in my mind the pressure of the day there got to Nick.
It wasn't a rail, but a refusal that gave Eric and Hickstead their first CN International title.
Like, you don't believe it, you know? You're like, oh, I can't believe this has just happened.
When Eric won, I felt like I won something. It was tremendous. It was just very emotional. We were just hugging emotionally at the end gate. That's the way it worked for he and I. We were together with his wins.
When Hickstead won that first Grand Prix, it was the first time that we actually were like, wow, like a Canadian can do this.
Suddenly, I think Canadians felt like they got another real champion to go and cheer for. He got to that stage, and once he got there, he never came down.
A storybook ending to the Spruce Meadows Masters. Your champion of the CN International, Canada's Eric Lamaze, ladies and gentlemen.
This is an emotional win for me, for sure, and we gotta give a round of applause to Hickstead. He loves to compete here. He loves to hear you make noise and clap and over every jump. But what a horse. He's given me such a great year. And to win a tournament of this magnitude here with the riders behind me, it's a dream come true for me.
The trophy symbolic of international show jumping supremacy, Canada's Eric Lamaze.
You're watching Spruce Meadows Presents The Legacy of Hickstead in association with CN, North America's Railroad, Rolex, the official timepiece of Spruce Meadows, and TravelAlberta.com.
Many people are cautious about using their horse in a fast jump-off during the week because it can affect the riding ability come the Grand Prix day. I've now realized that I can basically run him every class and it makes him better. So I'm feeling like he can be beaten.
Hickstead for sure possessed those qualities that all just freaky great athletes possess. I mean, he really, really had a strong desire to do his job. He was just a fighter in his heart. And Eric, I think, is a bit the same type of a person. I mean, I think he's a real fighter, and he'll take any shot he needs to take to win a class.
When he went into a competition, he went in to win it. It didn't matter whether it was the first day of the Masters or the CN International. He just went in to win.
I saw a lot of great horses. Milton, Big Ben, Japalou. They won a lot, but in the earlier events of the week, sometimes there would be a fence here, a fence there, and they always seem to rise for the big Grand Prix. However, Hickstead, every time you open that gate, he jumped clean.
I believe he jumped 26 clear round in a row without knocking a rail down. He'd become so good.
They could just lay down round after round after round, and you just never thought that a horse could jump that many clear rounds and win that many classes. It was incredible to watch.
I've been around the sport a long time, and virtually no one could remember a horse that could jump at the very top level so many clean rounds just consistently. It was extraordinary.
They became the combination to beat. They had great expectations put on them by the fans, expecting to see clear round after clear round after clear round, and more often than not, they delivered.
Together, Hickstead and Lamaze were just getting started. They returned to Spruce Meadows in June for the Summer Series and Canadian Olympic team trials.
I've always used Spruce Meadows for Hickstead as a preparation for anything. I thought it always made him a better horse. These larger fences, the width of the fences and things like that gave him some more courage, gave him more scope and everything else. So by the Olympic year, he knows this venue very well. I know the venue very well. I know every step that he takes. I know every move that he makes. Things are just becoming very easy for me. Hickstead's making it easy.
Eric and Hickstead took to the course in the CN Reliability Grand Prix. They were making it look easy. With 3 major wins at Spruce Meadows during the summer series, the pair looked unstoppable.
Eric Lamaze starts off 2008 in championship style with Hickstead in the CN Reliability Grand Prix.
The clear rounds kept coming, the expectations kept growing, and the confidence was clear.
If there's an option in a jump off, I know how to do it. If there's a long gallop to a double, I know how to do it. There's nothing that I can think of that's coming at me that's going to be a surprise. There's nothing that I can think that can stop us.
Their July jump-off win against Jill Henselwood and Special Ed in the Atco Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup set the stage for the 2008 Olympiad.
And a clear round, a good start to the jump-off.
Eric Lamaze and Hickstead were in true championship form 1 month out from the games.
But no one showed better than Canada's Eric Lamaze defending his title in the Atco Power Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
Sport doesn't build character, it shows it. It really revealed what Hickstead and Eric were all about, that they could keep coming back and get back up on top of the mountain.
Destination Hong Kong, site of the 2008 Olympic equestrian events. The team of Eric Lamaze, Ian Miller, Jill Henselwood, and Mac Cohn was now going in as medal contenders. With Hickstead in the anchor position, confidence was high.
When you look at most gold medal teams back over the ages, there's always seems to be one of those superstar horses as the key factor, the linchpin, so to speak.
The horse that was born the year Lamaze faced his first Olympic crisis was now carrying his Olympic dream.
I was riding last for our team. Then Hickstead came around and did what Hickstead did and jumped a clear round to put us in a decent position for the second day. And then when the second day came and Mac Cohn's horse had an injury and we were starting with 3 riders, and Jill Henselwood had a bit of a disastrous first day, me and Ian looked at each other and said, this is going to be hard to do.
Hard, but not impossible. Undaunted by the task ahead, Jill Henselwood gave Canada the perfect start, a clear round.
So all of a sudden, we're like, wow, this could look good. And then Ian went, he had it clear. And then I went and I had 1 down.
With 20 faults over 2 rounds, Team Canada won the silver medal. Their first trip to the Olympic podium since 1968. Lamaze and Hickstead easily advanced to the individual final.
I had my plan, rolled my round, the horse jumped beautifully. Loved the stadium there, just loved the energy, loved everything. He was very rideable. And then the second round came, and before you know it, there was 1 guy left standing with a double clear, and Hickstead left to go. And I was like, okay, I think this can be done.
The pair went about their job. Only the second double clear of the competition, the Olympic gold medal, would be decided by a jump-off. Leading off, Sweden's Rolf Goran Bengtsson. 1 rail down and 4 faults.
And I remember sitting at the in-gate going, you know, you're sitting on Hickstead, you can really have 4 faults, all you have to do is go faster. This is not only possible, but you have to be an idiot not to make it happen. I mean, if I can be so blunt.
It soon became apparent that neither the jumps nor time would be a factor. As they crossed the finish line with a clear round, the stadium cheered and a country erupted. Eric Lamaze and Hickstead were Olympic champions.
I knew that I had won the gold and things like that, but I had no idea of the impact that it had in Canada. I remember having huge sign, well done, welcome home. I mean, all of these things, and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable.
I'm glad we didn't miss that. For that experience, there's no way to describe that. Just to be there and to see that happen.
I remember I was working in the U.S. and I sat in front of the computer and I watched Eric at the Olympics, and I have to say I cried. I'm probably going to cry now. For the team to win silver and for Eric to win a gold medal with, you know, the history and everything, it was unbelievable.
Gold medalist and Olympic champion representing Canada, Eric Lamaze on Hickstead.
It was the pinnacle of the relationship between this sport and this country. It was everybody's dream come true.
4 years after Hickstead and Eric Lamaze agreed to a partnership, they were firmly positioned at the summit of international show jumping, the Olympic gold medal podium. At 12 years of age, Hickstead was in his competitive prime and had gained the respect and admiration of an entire nation and the world of show jumping. Fortunately, the legacy of Hickstead was far from complete.